Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just wanted to comment on two of the pieces of legislation we passed today. First, the Empowering Olympic and Amateur Athletes Act. You know, the Olympics are certainly near and dear to my heart, not just because my predecessor, Senator Ted Stevens, was the author of the Amateur Sports Act, but because Alaska produces many world-class athletes, many Olympians, particularly in winter sports, and I commend my colleagues, Senator Moran and Blumenthal, for their thorough and rigorous oversight at the subcommittee on these issues, and I also thank the bill's sponsors for working with many, including me, on refining S2330. With that said, I note that Senator Blackburn authored an amendment on grant accountability but could not be here to offer it, and I support her amendment. The Blackburn amendment is based on Chairman Grassley's Safe Sport Act of 2019, which I co-sponsored along with many other colleagues, and on her behalf, I ask that the chair and ranking member work with me and Senator Blackburn and others to refine the bill's accountability language before floor consideration of this measure. Next, Mr. Chairman, I just want to briefly talk about the Save Our Seas 2.0 Act. This is a very broad bipartisan bill that's going to do a lot, we believe, to address this ocean pollution crisis, ocean plastics crisis that I think so many of us are concerned about. It's a very broad, comprehensive bill, 3 different committees. This is the 3rd committee, Mr. Chairman, that the Save Our Seas 2.0 has gone through. It passed unanimously out of the Foreign Relations Committee, unanimously out of the Environment and Public Works Committee, and then the strong vote out of the committee today with broad bipartisan support. I won't go through all the elements of how comprehensive this is. My friend from New Mexico had comments on it. I appreciate working with him and will continue to work with him, but I do strongly disagree with his statement that this bill does little. To the contrary, this is one of the most comprehensive attempts to address this global crisis of our oceans of any legislation ever passed in the Congress. It doesn't solve everything. No bill solves everything, but it's an important step forward. And Mr. Chairman, if you don't want to take my word for it, this was the lead editorial in the Sunday Washington Post a couple weeks ago about my legislation that Senator Whitehouse is the lead co-sponsor, Senator Menendez are lead co-sponsors, and as you saw today, many other, Senator Schatz, Blumenthal, Cruz, but they go into in-depth about this legislation, and they end by saying, it is a start, no doubt, but it merits quick and ringing approval. That's from the Washington Post. I'd like to submit that for the record.
Without objection,
and then this
will
morning,
be received.
Senators Whitehouse and Menendez and I had an op-ed in the Roll Call newspaper as well. And again, we raised the point that this is not just an issue for our country, but very importantly, an issue for the world. The estimates are that 6 countries and 10 rivers in Asia account for almost 70% of all the plastic pollution in the entire world. So this has a big international component. That's why it had the Foreign Relations Committee sign off. So I want to thank the chairman and the ranking member and all my colleagues. We're looking to try and bring this to the floor quickly for Senate approval. But I do want to mention that it does take a comprehensive approach, and I think you see the broad bipartisan support in the Senate is a testament to that. I'd also like to submit the roll call article from today for the record, Mr. Chairman.